Sometimes less is really more, and that's what these fragrances are all about. You know, there are certain ones out there for sure that you might have to spray 8, 9, 10 times to get some good performance out of them, to actually make it so people can smell you just because they are on the weaker side. That's really just not the case here. You know, if you were to approach these with that same mindset, you would probably be in the realm of over applying, and you know, it might bug people around you for sure, sometimes could, but I found personally that sometimes when you do over apply some things that are too strong, man, it's just about half miserable. You know, it's just all you can smell. It starts to give you a headache, and it can just not be all that fun. And compounded with that, these are strong enough to where they're a little bit hard to actually get washed off completely too. So, you know, when you are wearing these, and especially if you're getting them for the first time and trying them, start light, go with less, and oftentimes you'll find that that's plenty. Couple sprays max, and you're gonna be good. This first one is Yope Ohm Absolute. You know, I mean, even the original Yope Ohm, such a strong scent, that syrupy sweet smell that it has, you know, almost cough syrup-like. You know, it's a potent one. This one's got incense, black pepper, tonka bean, smoky sweet, peppery spicy, but nowhere near as sweet as the original, and it doesn't have that cough syrup type of sweetness too, which is very distinct, and that's something that a lot of people don't like about the original. So luckily that's not really here with this one. Even Yope Ohm Eau de Parfum, you know, that one has that same deal going on. This one stands out quite a bit from the others, and kind of has, actually, believe it or not, a bit of a freshness to it. More of like a freshness from the type of almost black pepper that it uses. It just gives it again, a fresher kick, just to balance out some of the sweetness and some of the smokiness that this one does have. And so even though, you know, the name and the bottle might look as though it's going to be even more, you know, in the sweet or strong direction in that type of way, it's really not. It's probably not what you would expect from an absolute, you know, flanker of this style, and I like it for that reason. And you know, the other nice thing about this one is you're not spending an arm and a leg on it. You know, I think you're typically looking at about $40 to $50 to get this one into your collection, which really isn't that bad, especially given the fact that you get amazing performance out of this one. It is very strong, and a couple of sprays is more than enough to get you going for this one. Armani Stronger With You Oud is also pretty strong, and you know, typically that's going to be a pretty common thing with oud-based fragrances. Of course, it's not guaranteed. You know, there are plenty out there, I'm sure, that are on the weaker side, or maybe they list oud in the name, but then you barely smell it, you know, but that's not the case here. You do pick up on it. Of course, it is still a Stronger With You. It's an Armani, you know, it's in a line that is still going to mint as being like a mass-pleasing style, and it is. So the oud itself is pretty kind of low level as far as just not being too challenging, and you still get that chestnut sweetness that the Stronger With You lineup is known for. However, it does give it just a nice twist. Simple as that, you know, a nice dash of oud over top of that Stronger With You DNA. It works well. I mean, it's a nice addition. Even if you're somebody who isn't a huge fan of oud, I think this one's still pretty easy to get along with and like. I don't think too many people are gonna have an issue or struggle with this one a whole lot. And obviously it's in this video for a reason. It's another strong scent where you just don't need a ton of sprays. You know, this one, it pushes out pretty much regardless of how many sprays you do. It doesn't take a ton to get that projection. It doesn't take a ton to even get that longevity too. You know, given that it's an exclusive edition, it's a touch more expensive, but not by a lot. And it's well worth it if you want Stronger With You with a twist. Now this next one, it's by far probably, I mean, it's one of the strongest in this video. You know, they're all strong, but this one especially is just incredibly potent. In fact, the original of this is incredibly potent to begin with, and they just took it to the next level. Mancera Intense Red Tobacco. So of course, I mean, the original Red Tobacco Eau de Parfum is famous for the fact that it's a beast mode scent that is a strong red pipe tobacco type of smell, right? Smells wonderful, although not going to be everybody's favorite given the level of tobacco forwardness that it has, not anywhere close to your usual designer style. So, you know, it's kind of more of a challenging one even maybe just a tiny bit medicinal, because both versions do use a little bit of oud, and it is of the slightly more medicinal variety. So again, not everybody's going to like this. And the Intense, I mean, it just takes it to the next level. It didn't need to be stronger at all, but yet here we are anyway. And the note breakdown is pretty standard. I mean, it's about what you would expect. It uses a lot of tobacco, some oud, some patchouli. That's basically the extent of what you pick up on the most. It's a 14+ hour performer, so just incredible longevity, really strong projection as well. I'm telling you, don't go crazy on this one when you're just starting out with it, because this is one that will burn your nose and will start to give you a headache if you do apply too much of it and it's just constantly going, which it will be. So just a couple sprays should be enough to get you through, the entire day and night as well. And also pricing is usually around $100 or less for 120 ml. So a bottle like this is going to last you pretty much a lifetime. I understand this video is kind of more winter leaning, just given the nature of these types of scents. We do have one that's going to be more summery at the very end, but these next couple are going to be more cooler weather as well. Although, as I usually say, air conditioning does wonders, and you can wear these fragrances in an air-conditioned room if you wanted to, and of course it's going to be fine. But Spice Bomb Extreme, look, it's yet another one where a couple of sprays and you're pretty much going to be set up. This one is not quite as extreme. Well, obviously it's Spice Bomb Extreme. It's not quite as potent. Still very strong, just not in the same type of way as a few of these others. This one's pretty smooth, and so it uses a lot of tobacco, which we were just talking about, although it's just a different type of tobacco. It's using, along with that, quite a bit of vanilla, of course, some black pepper spice, but it has a smoother sweetness and overall just a smoother delivery. Still Spice Bomb, still spicy from that pepper off the opening, but again, it is a bit more refined. It's more refined than the original Spice Bomb. It's smoother than a lot of other scents that kind of fall into this category as well. So it's just not quite as in your face, even though it is still very strong. Great performance, all day longevity, good projection as well. You just don't need a ton of it. A good thing, because it's not really cheap. It's 90 ml and usually around close to $100. So the price per milliliter on this is just going to be a touch higher than your usual 100 ml, 120, 125 mLs. But again, you don't need a ton of it. I've had this bottle forever, and a couple sprays sets me up, and I do wear it quite often in the wintertime as well. Now, yeah, this next one is another warm spicy. So has a lot of licorice, a lot of sandalwood, a whole bunch of other warm spices as well. It is Dior Savage Elixir, of course. What else would it be, right? This stuff it's pretty popular right now. Maybe a little bit surprising given the fact that it's nothing like the original Sauvage, any of them. It doesn't really have that ambroxan, bergamot, peppery style that those are known for, especially the EDT and the Eau de Parfum, and I guess very cool spray. This is it's basically the polar opposite. It's more mature, it's more refined, it's sweeter, it's just different, man. If Sauvage Eau de Toilette is more of a young guy smell, this is going to be somebody who's just more grown up and has gone through that phase already, and just a more mature smelling scent overall. Not for everybody either. Not everybody wants this. A lot of people want more of what Sauvage Eau de Toilette and Eau de Parfum bring. Just kind of more of a casual, fresher, people pleaser type. This one is not that type of scent. Of course, it is still a good compliment getter. It's obviously a Dior, and in the Sauvage lineup, they're not going to put out something that isn't going to smell good to people. It's just different. Now, that being said, really strong stuff, super strong. Parfum concentration, great longevity, solid projection. This stuff will go all day long with minimal amounts of sprays, which is good because it's expensive too. 60 ml for like $140 discounter. That's a lot of money. Let's actually finish this video off with that summer-based scent that I was talking about. It's Y Eau de Parfum, just the original Y EDP. You could probably put in the Intense, the Eau de Parfum Intense, the older Y Le Parfum, Y Live, even the new Le Parfum 25. About all of them really. except for like the Eau de Toilette and Eau Fresh, you know, but especially the Eau de Parfum. This is going to be the strongest one, the one that is most in your face, at least as of currently. If they release something else crazier down the road, different story, but as of right now, this is kind of the most obnoxious one, so to speak. Not that it's crazy, but compared to the others, it's going to be a lot more powerful. So you just don't need a ton of it, especially if you are wearing it in summertime, because it's sweet still. Remember, it's got that apple. It has that sage, lavender, geranium, amber wood as well, but it's the apple that gives it that sweet fruitiness off the opening. That also continues into the dry down that you have to be somewhat careful with, or at least conscious of, when you're applying this one in the high heat, because that part of it can get away from you. That's where, you know, if you spray it on 10 sprays or something and it's 85 degrees out, man, you know, you're probably going to be wishing you didn't, because this stuff will be up your nose and it's not going to go away. In fact, typically the heat like that acts as like an amplifier, and it's like throwing more wood on the fire. It makes the scent take off and project and get even louder. So something to keep in mind, just trying to spare you some you know, headache there, literally, because that can happen. This stuff is strong. So a couple sprays in the summertime and you're going to be good to go. About $100 for this on discounters. Alrighty guys, that's going to do it for me. Less is more with these, you know, in a world where fragrances are getting more expensive, but also stronger. It's important to kind of remember that, you know, with some of these, you can adjust your spray habits. In the days where the Eau de Toilettes were taking over, you know, and everything was not quite as strong a lot of the times, you might have to spray more. We're kind of getting away from that a bit. Everything is parfum and elixir and, you know, Eau de Parfum intense, and things are just getting stronger. So something to keep in mind. Thank you guys so much for watching. Stay safe, stay healthy. We'll see you tomorrow with another one. Take care.